What if the greatest weapon in power is your absence?
Not your voice, not your demands.
But the quiet, cold vacuum you leave when you step back. In a world obsessed with attention and approval, the one who dares to become scarce becomes dangerous. Machiavelli understood something terrifying. Control doesn't come from begging to stay, but from making others terrified you'll leave. And the moment they realize they can't replace you, they break. In this video, you'll discover the silent art of becoming so powerful, so unforgettable, so essential, that losing you becomes a nightmare they can't afford. This isn't manipulation, it's strategy. Welcome to the rule no one teaches, and no one forgets. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked. They bend, adapt, overgive, all to remain close to those who treat them as optional. They respond instantly, show up at every call, and stay long after they've been disrespected. Not because they're weak, but because they fear being replaced. This fear drives them to cling, to explain, to justify. But Machiavelli knew that those who are always present become invisible, and those who are always available become dispensable. You've felt it. That moment when someone pulls back, suddenly they become more valuable. You replay their words, their silence feels louder, and your mind begins to chase what was once taken for granted. This isn't coincidence. It's a psychological shift deeply rooted in scarcity and perceived status. When you're always around, people stop seeing your worth. But when you master the art of withdrawal, you trigger something primal, the fear of loss. Not the loss of a person, but of power, validation, and certainty. And once that fear is activated, you control the board. Machiavelli didn't teach men to beg for loyalty. He taught them to shape perception. He observed that those who carry power do so not by dominating others openly, but by influencing how others see themselves in relation to them. If someone fears losing you, they will work to keep you. They will chase, adjust, comply, even without a single command. But that fear doesn't arise from threats or emotional pleas. It comes from silence, from mystery, from discipline. You don't need to tell them you're leaving. You let the void speak for itself. The key lies in contrast. Be incredibly present for a time. Give fully, engage deeply, make them feel seen, and then vanish. Not as revenge, but as strategy. People only value what they feel they might lose. That sudden emptiness, the lack of your energy, creates tension. And tension is power. In that vacuum, they begin to question themselves. Did they do something wrong? Did you find someone better? Their ego trembles. And their need to restore control makes them chase. Power isn't in being loud. It's in being missed. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, you stop bleeding power. You no longer need to defend your value. Your absence becomes the proof. And here's the brutal truth. Those who fear losing you respect you more than those who always have you. They pay attention. They hesitate before speaking. They adjust themselves because they know you are not permanently accessible. But this strategy requires restraint. The ego will want to explain, to correct, to return too soon. Resist. Machiavelli understood the value of timing. Men are driven by two things, fear and interest. When you vanish at the peak of their interest, you create maximum fear. And in that fear, they begin to elevate you in their own mind. You become the standard they measure others against, the one that got away, the missing element. This is not cruelty, it's alignment. You are not punishing them. You are rebalancing the scale. Those who didn't see your value must learn through contrast. You don't speak badly about them. You don't retaliate. You simply disappear and let the silence teach the lesson your presence never could. Machiavelli in The Prince declared, "It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." But he wasn't advocating tyranny. He was diagnosing reality. Love is unstable. It fades with time, routine, and familiarity. But fear, especially the fear of loss, lingers. When people fear losing you, they become alert. When they believe you're always available, they become lazy. That's the brutal efficiency of scarcity. It makes you memorable. This doesn't mean isolating yourself. Machiavelli didn't promote disappearance. He taught presence management. The wise man appears when most needed, but leaves before his presence is diluted. He gives generously, then retreats silently. He maintains mystique by refusing to be overly known. It's this contrast, this rhythmic proximity, that generates loyalty, not through love, but through tension. Many modern thinkers softened these teachings. They emphasized vulnerability, constant communication, and radical transparency. But Machiavelli tapped into something primal. Human behavior isn't ruled by morality. It's governed by utility. Overexposure leads to devaluation. Scarcity creates elevation. The more accessible you are, the less authority you command. But when you become rare, you become sacred. Machiavelli understood the economics of attention. Whatever is scarce appears valuable. Gold, silence, distance, all command reverence. When you give yourself away too easily, you become weight. But when you pull away strategically, you become a standard. Not a person to be used, but a force to be respected. The power lies not in speaking, but in being missed. And when you disappear, don't announce it. Don't dramatize your withdrawal. Simply leave. No explanations. No fireworks. Just silence. Machiavelli would say, "He who declares his absence begs to be pursued. He who vanishes without a word becomes legend." And legends aren't chased. They're remembered. Why do people obsess over what they can't fully grasp? Why does the mind replay silent moments more than loud ones? Because mystery is magnetic. The human brain hates unresolved tension. When you retreat without explanation, their imagination fills the silence with projections. And the projections are always more powerful than anything you could say. They begin to assign meaning, depth, and drama to your absence, even if none exists. This is why Machiavelli never advised explaining yourself. The more you explain, the more you weaken the impact. Clarity kills curiosity. And curiosity is what makes people spiral. Not your actions, but their unanswered questions about you. When you leave an emotional cliffhanger, they stay hooked. When you maintain silence, they keep guessing. The uncertainty makes them crave resolution, and that craving becomes obsession. Now ask yourself, how many people are you chasing right now? Who couldn't care less? How many times have you tried to explain your worth to someone deaf to it? Flip the script. Make them feel what it's like to not know where they stand, to not know why your energy shifted. Let them drown in the silence they once gave you. Let them ask the same questions you used to ask alone at night. This is psychological warfare at a strategic level. Not to hurt, but to create contrast. Your power grows in your absence. Your image expands in their mind the longer you remain still. Each hour without contact makes you larger in their memory. Until you're no longer the one who needed them, you're the one they can't stop thinking about. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. The beauty is, they'll never admit it. They'll pretend they don't care. They'll post pictures. They'll laugh louder. But late at night, their mind will drift back to the silence. The unanswered message. The sudden coldness. The missing presence. And they'll realize they were never in control. You were the moment you stopped chasing. When you stop chasing, you shift the dynamic of power. People don't obsess over abundance. They obsess over withdrawal. The moment you pull your energy back, they're forced to confront their own emptiness. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects what they lack, what they failed to value, and what they now crave. Not because you changed, but because you stopped feeding their illusion of control. Machiavelli knew that control doesn't require noise. It requires tension. And tension is born from anticipation. You must become someone who doesn't beg to be seen. You vanish at your peak, not your decline. When they expect you to plead, you smile and walk away. When they're certain you'll explain, you offer stillness. It's the disobedience of expectation that creates emotional dominance. But beware, this kind of power reshapes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. The first time you withdraw, it hurts. You want to explain. You want to reconnect. You doubt your value. But the second time, you begin to see the shift. Their silence turns into inquiry. Their avoidance becomes pursuit. And you realize you were never powerless. You were just too available. This isn't manipulation, it's liberation. When you reclaim your energy, you stop being a servant to validation. You no longer seek confirmation from people who benefit from your insecurity. You step into the role of the chooser, not the chosen. You move like a shadow that can't be held, only remembered. And the memory of you becomes more powerful than your presence ever was. Eventually they'll come back. But not for who you are, for how you made them feel. They'll chase not the person, but the silence, the coldness, the distance. They'll beg not because you gave too much, but because you took it away. That is the Machiavellian inversion. The less you give, the more they need. The greatest power is not in possession, it's in absence. Not in words spoken, but in words withheld. Machiavelli didn't just understand politics. He understood the battlefield of the human heart. He knew that when you become too easy to reach, you become too easy to ignore.
But when you become a mystery, you become a need.
And people chase what they believe they've lost, not what they always had. So from now on, stop explaining yourself. Stop proving your worth. Withdraw with dignity, not spite. Let silence speak for you. Let your absence build the myth they never appreciated when you were close. Because when you stop chasing, the world adjusts. The same people who once ignored you will feel your void echoing louder than any words you could ever say. And when they come crawling back, don't let them return to the version of you that begged. Let them meet the one who mastered control without ever raising a voice. The one who studied Machiavelli not for cruelty, but for clarity. For strength. For the quiet power of not needing anyone until they need you more than ever.